Welcome to Banking on Burlesque, the propelling point of change, with me, Lana Montreese, burlesque and drag movement instructor and coach. During this show, you will discover healing from trauma in a way you never thought possible and become empowered in all areas of your life. Do you feel stuck in a system that seems broken? Are you longing to have meaning in your life? If you answered yes and are ready to change yourself and the world, then you are being called to give Banking on Burlesque a listen. I discovered that healing starts within and would love to help you navigate into a world of sparkle, wonder, and a lifetime of magical change. Banking on Burlesque starts now. Hello, and welcome back to Banking on Burlesque, the propelling point of change. And here I am, Lana Montreese. I am back for a fourth time. We are here a month later, not a week later, because it's going to be the running joke of me. Anyways, wow, I can't believe it's already been a month and so much has happened. Do you ever have just so many things happen in a very short period of time that it just feels like a lifetime has happened in a short 30 days since we were last here? I have gone to the Panama Burlesque Festival. I have done an entire month of June Pride festivities, performances. I produced my very first Portland show, which was an all-ages drag kings and beings show at the Clint Street Theater for 10 Tiny Talks. I was a resident artist, which is all really great, and so many exciting things coming. And if you want to keep up with all of the exciting things that have happened and that are continuing to happen, my website, lanamontreese.com. Also the social medias, I have the Instagram, which is at Lana_Montreese. And I bring that up because there are some really great events and other performers and things that I'm going to be uplifting on those, so you can tune in more than just here. To recap what we talked about last month was my infatuation with Alaska, and just remembering how last month's episode went. I was just so excited with how everything went that I was just all over the place and couldn't gather my thoughts and ideas. And even though I was prepared, it felt like I wasn't, kind of like today with technology. So we're just gonna kick this off and go right into some fun for this episode, because this one's gonna be really real and really deep and a little bit raw and tender to all of our hearts, because we all collectively went through this together. We all went through a global pandemic, through a collective trauma. We're all still reeling from it. I know I am, for sure. I'm sure a lot of you all at home are trying to figure out how to come back from it. The world is slowly starting to feel, I guess, normal again, maybe. So backtracking just a little bit, we did leave off last episode talking about Alaska. And since Alaska, one of those situations where a lot of life happens in a very short period of time, I only spent about 4 months in Alaska during the winter, during the negative 40 degrees, like we talked about. My Alaska trip was cut short because I found someone that this just synchronized really well, and the timing and our relationship just blossomed really quickly. And it just felt like divine timing. He had a lot of the same outlooks and ideas and thought processes that I had, and we really connected and hit it off. And so it was one of those things where we were both in a situation in our lives where we were opening up to more possibilities and just trusting what the universe lays in front of us. And we collided and started a really quick relationship, and that led to me leaving Alaska, and him and I both moved to Vancouver, Washington together. Right before the pandemic, this was January 2020 that I left from Alaska to Vancouver, Washington, because things just instantly fell into place there for him and for us, seemingly. It did. We did so many great things together. We were able to manifest a really great life for ourselves. And then overnight, the pandemic happened. And I mean, everyone remembers that feeling. I'm sure you do, where you were when all of a sudden you got the news that, hey, the world's shut down, stay home, don't go to work if you can, with things. He had just opened the doors to his new business, and I had just started a new job at a new company. And the new job that I started decided that they weren't going to continue on with the new hires they hired. So they let us all go. I wasn't with that company long enough to qualify for any sort of unemployment benefits. My ex, fortunately, had some things lined up to where we weren't just with no money or homeless. And he also, because he was an independent contractor, anyways, the things. So we did all of the things, not really all of the things, we really did nothing and just stayed home and drank copious amounts of alcohol and just perpetuated the feeling of being not in control of anything that we had going for us. And that kind of spiraled and really turned our relationship into toxicity. We both just fell back into the grind of, not being happy, not being grateful, and not looking towards, having purpose, even though there was still work to be done, even though the world was on pause. So where to even go there? There was so much that happened during my short stay in Vancouver, Washington, because that only lasted about, let's see, what was it? January, February, March, April, May-ish, about like 3.5 months or so that I was in Vancouver, Washington. My ex was very ill at the time. He had a mystery illness of some sorts. We were trying to find answers for that for him through also having to, sift through all of the pandemic stuff of trying to schedule doctor's appointments while, everything. During this illness that he had, he failed to communicate to me that whenever he would have certain coughing fits, that it would lead him to black out. This happened, I found out this because we were driving on one of the really big bridges here in Portland, and he, I guess, started coughing, and then all of a sudden I hear him say, babe, I can't see. And we're literally merging onto the bridge. And I say, oh, okay. And I grab the wheel and I say, I'm going to steer the wheel and just keep pushing the gas and we'll be okay. Oh, my life, I flashed a little bit before my eyes, but I was able to still maintain and hold onto the steering wheel and make sure we didn't collide into the car next to us or drive off the bridge on the other side of us. And luckily his vision came back very quickly and we made it. And I'm still here. Did not drive off the bridge, but almost drove off the bridge. And I have a really big fear of bridges anyways and heights. So I bring that up because that was probably one of the most very memories that just gonna be imprinted on my brain of my stay in Vancouver, Washington. And that really made me realize that life is very short and can change in an instant. And what am I doing in this situation that I'm not happy in? And there's so much toxicity, all of the things. Well, that relationship ended shortly thereafter that situation happened. And I was left to pick up my pieces and try to figure out what was next. There was a pandemic. I was in Vancouver. Everyone was in lockdown. My family's in New Mexico. Alaska was really in a tough spot during the pandemic because they were way secluded over there. It was stressful. I'm just thinking back on it and I could just feel how stressful it was. You ever just remember those situations you've had when you look back and you're like, you can start to feel just the pressure and the anxiety start to come back into your body. And I have to sometimes take a breath and reground myself as to where I'm at and know that I'm just okay and I'm safe here in this moment. So doing that really quick. It's interesting though, because I was talking about just synchronicity and the way that things align in such a way to where when things happen, they happen. And yeah. We have to laugh at ourselves too when things happen and we just like fully put our expectations into it to go a certain way. And we put all our eggs in that expectation basket. And then if they don't go that way and all the eggs are smashed and broken on the ground, right? So we're gonna take a little bit of a break here. And when we come back, I'm going to give you some really interesting synchronistic situations that happened that led me to figure out what was next from Vancouver, Washington. So we'll be right back. Going back to Las Vegas, New Mexico. So synchronicities, right? Things just happen, things collide. My ex and I say collided because at the time we felt like it was this big, beautiful, grand thing. And what it turned into was really turning into like two planets colliding. And then there was just a hot mess afterwards. I say that because it wasn't just that where we collided, it was also so many other things. The day that he broke up with me, my world everything that I thought was true and that I knew that was going to happen, it just like my future just shattered in an instant because we made so many plans and we had this whole life like thought out and I believed it. I mean, we all do. And so we left. I was like, I need to go get some things and, decompress. And so he drove me somewhere, wherever. When I got out of the car, I got a phone call from my father and I answered and I found out that my grandma had just gotten into a motorcycle accident. So the same day that my world seemed to be shattered because my future was just taken away from me, my real world was really feeling like it was getting shattered because I didn't know how serious the motorcycle accident was. There wasn't anything going on for me and tried to refigure out life there again, but it was a pandemic. Seattle during the pandemic wasn't the same Seattle I fell in love with back in 2017. I couldn't go home right then and there. I didn't have a vehicle. I didn't have any money because I wasn't working. I felt just hopeless and I just didn't know what to do or how to get myself out of the situation that I got myself into because I thought I was, going headfirst into just finding love, and it was hard. About a month or so went by. My ex was, he was a decent human. He didn't just say, we're broken up now, you need to leave and bye, figure it out. He did allow me to take up space in his home and stay there until I was able to get enough money and get all my things together to leave. And so I did. I got all my things together. I got my money together. Um, I left, and the way that I left, when you plan, like it's like I keep saying it, when you plan things a certain way, you have the idea in your head that it's going to go this way, and then go that way. I oh, right before, so not only did the synchronicity happen of ex broke up with me, grandma motorcycle accident, realization, need to go home. The synchronicity of all of it was I needed to go home because I needed to face my demons and I needed to really take a hard look at the trauma and heal from the trauma that I had been carrying and running away from for so long since probably before I left Seattle. It was just a collective of, just life trauma that happened. And so that was the moment that, it was time to face all of that and to conquer it or not. So I made the plan. I didn't really tell my ex. He just kind of knew that I was planning to get out of there and just didn't really know time frame, all things. He wasn't my partner anymore, so I didn't feel he had the right to know all of the ins and outs of my life. So when I decided I was leaving, I didn't tell him. I just ran to the vehicle, had my stuff already packed, and the night before I was going to leave, in my brain was like, okay, I'm going to go to bed early. I'm not going to drink tonight. I'm going to, do all the like healthy, positive things to make sure when I leave tomorrow, it's going to be in like nice, healthy, positive mindset. Well, no. My ex and his friend who was staying with him at the time started drinking, and it's like, oh, I guess I'll have a glass of wine. The glass of wine turned into multiples, which it typically does in my case when I'm in these sort of situations. And so, got pretty sloshy, pretty messy, and he also did. And long story short for the situation is I essentially turned into the person that I perceived my mother to be during my entire childhood when her and her husband at the time would get super drunk or belligerent on other things, and they would fight and essentially have domestic altercations, and it would turn into physical abuse and a lot of stuff. And that night I had a glimpse of what it would look like if I also fell down that spiraling path of I basically in my eyes turning into my mom. And that was something that I always told myself that I wouldn't do. And, she's gone through her own hurt and her own pain, and she has her own path. And I'm empathetic and I'm gentle and kind, and I try to understand where she has come from. Anyways, it was a real big look in the mirror to see like who I could really be and how this path and trajectory that I was on was not what I wanted or what was right for me or what was even right for the collective like whole of humanism, I guess. I don't know. So then we had a big fight. It turned into a lot of things. There was yelling, there was running away, there was fear that I was potentially going to have, the police called on me and that I may end up in jail for the night because it was his place, it was his things, and he could easily just say that I, whatever. And so I was really scared for my safety and my security. And I vowed to myself that I would never, ever, ever put myself in a situation where my safety and security are completely out of my control. So the next morning I just left. I packed my things into a U-Haul and I drove to Seattle first. I had some friends that were like, hey, come stay here. You have a place to crash. I hadn't really fully figured out what I was going to do in New Mexico. So I was like, okay, cool. I'm going to say goodbye to some people in Seattle, spend a week there, do the thing. So I did that. Like I said, Seattle was not the Seattle I fell in love with, and I knew that I couldn't, I did need to go home. It wasn't ever a possibility. It wasn't a not possibility to go home. Drove the 3 days or 4 days it took me to get home, and Las Vegas, New Mexico, which we talked about before, and I'm going to reiterate it again, is the original Las Vegas, New Mexico. The original Las Vegas. Las Vegas translates to meadow or meadow city. So the original Las Vegas, that's where I'm from. Hey, family. So I get to Las Vegas and I get to my grandma. My grandma's okay. She bounced right back from her motorcycle accident all the way to where she was like, oh, I need to get my motorcycle fixed. Hey, Grandma, whatever you say, I'm not going to tell you what to do because you are a strong, independent woman and you do what you want. And even if I told you not to do it, you would still do it. So I was back home and it was really nice. I was able to face a lot of things that I had been running from, and I was able to create a really nice, healthy relationship with my grandma. I started working for her office again, like I did back in high school. I also went back to school full time to finish my degrees because what do you do in a pandemic? Right? Okay. And I've not forgotten, there is burlesque about to happen in here. I know this whole segment has been more me just kind of giving you some stories on what was happening during the pandemic, and you're probably sitting there on your, device, like, well, Lana, when are you going to talk about burlesque? This is supposed to be banking on burlesque, right? Right. Don't worry. So we're going to take another break, and then when we come back, I will go into the burlesque side of the pandemic and how that was interesting. Alrighty, so be back. And we're back. So, like I was saying, where did burlesque go during the pandemic? Where did it go? Online, like everything else, on Zoom, like everything else. Burlesque definitely went online. And you may be wondering at home, well, how did burlesque go online? Well, just like how you're watching me online right now, just how you are able to have your Zoom meetings at work from home and still be able to see your bosses and your coworkers' beautiful, lovely faces on your screen. That's exactly how we did burlesque in our living rooms. And burlesque performers, artists in general, are just I really enjoyed seeing the pivot of, we're not just going to let burlesque not happen during the pandemic just because we're all at home and we're all, not knowing what the heck is going on. And if the world's even going to come back to normal, we're all just going to be stuck in our homes forever. I remember the very first virtual burlesque show I did. It was actually for my really great friend, my drag dad, for Melange. It was supposed to be an in-person show. And literally, I think it was like the week before, I want to say a week, maybe 2 weeks before, was when the world shut down and got canceled. So my drag dad pivoted really quickly. It was a live show. Shows turned into be more like pre-recorded, where you get to, you pre-record the show and then you let people buy tickets and they get to watch it from home at whatever time we agree on. So that was was very interesting. Virtual tipping started being a really big thing during the pandemic. Basically, so the second show we did on Zoom, and this show was really cool because we got to do like a bit of it was a band burlesque show. It was called Sheltered in Lace. And the way that this show worked is we had a band based in Seattle. They had their like practice studio set up, and they basically were roommates too. So they were in their little germ pod of the band germ pod, where they played music on their end with their little camera set up. Each performer performed from their own living room to a song that they picked of the band, which it was really cool. We did so well that we ended up having an encore run of it, like I think the month after. And so yeah, it definitely brought a different side of artistic abilities in the burlesque community and the drag community. People turned from being stage managers and stage hands and tip tarts and producers to still being producers, but also being able to be like videographers, video editors, music editors. Like I also developed a whole bunch of new set of skills that I had no idea I needed or would ever want to have. It was a great time. And yeah, we did it. We were able to still, I keep putting my phone down here when it doesn't need to be down here. Anyways, I'm looking from my phone. Anyways, you don't need to know the back details. So it was really just finding our creative space and purpose outside of live burlesque and in-person burlesque, and still be able to see that we could still create and still have an outlet. And it opened the door to be able to network and have a wider audience, because now instead of your audience only being able to be in your local community, you were able to reach an entire audience across the world on the internet, which was a little bit like, oh, wow. Oh, people around the world could see me. I don't know how I feel about that, but it was great. I made so many connections that I would have never made only performing in live shows for even like 10 years. I could be performing in live shows for the next 10 years, and I wouldn't have made as many connections the way that I did during the pandemic while everything was online and virtual. It's incredible. And it's not just for myself, for so many other performers too. I know so many new performers. There were people we had brand new performers that literally started during the pandemic. They had never set foot on a stage live until the pandemic was over, which I didn't realize that until I got here to Portland, when I met two performers. They were like, baby burlesque performers, and they had started during the pandemic, and that was their first show. I was oh my God, like, wow, this is the first time y'all are stepping on stage. And it was crazy. It's still crazy to me to think back on that. The other part of that, like, it wasn't only finding, purpose in still being able to have burlesque and it not going away, like how so many of us were like afraid that it might when when things first got like bad. So it was also being able to find purpose in other things and finding the value in human connection outside of the direct, face-to-face connection. Like I had mentioned in the last segment, I had the opportunity to go back to school. I went back to school because I needed something else to give me, like, have something to focus my energy on that wasn't sitting and worrying and not knowing what to do, and if burlesque was even going to come back, if I would ever feel the feeling of having audience members just being enthralled by what's going on stage. And it was scary. So I threw myself into school. I was actually going during 3 years, about 2.5 years, I did 18 credit hours each semester because that's just what I needed to do to keep my mind busy from worrying. And I got an associate's degree, I got a bachelor's degree, and I did online burlesque. And it's kind of funny too, because I faced my demons, faced my trauma, was doing the whole life in little Las Vegas, New Mexico. Opportunity came up again where my grandma's partner needed someone to go back to Alaska and help out at the house again there. And my grandma had originally just assumed that because of I guess how I left Alaska the last time, that I wouldn't want to go. And so kind of laughed at her. I was like, actually, I was like, no, I'll go to Alaska. I'll try it again. I liked Alaska. So I went back to Alaska for an entire week. And let's just say my grandma's partner and I, we agreed to disagree. And what we agreed to agree on was me not being in Alaska anymore. So I left again. And this time I went back to New Mexico, but I went to Rio Rancho and stayed with my dad and his new wife and her children, his stepchildren. They're adults now and all the things. But I got to have the opportunity to just really get more time with my dad and with my family, my nieces and my nephew. And it was a nice soft landing to be able to come home and feel like it was family and feel like the abundance of love and just the slowness of life, and being able to have the time and space to actually give to my family, and not with the hustle and bustle of oh, I'll call you later, I have to work, or X, Y, or Z is going on. Not very much was going on because we were all in a global pandemic. So I had ample amounts of time to get to know and get to spend with my siblings and my nieces and nephew and my parents, my dad, and I am really grateful for that time that I had with them. Yeah, I did a lot in a very short period of time. That was all one entire year of my life, was the Alaska to Vancouver, Vancouver to Las Vegas, New Mexico, Las Vegas, New Mexico to Alaska for a week, and then Alaska back to New Mexico. And, here I am. We'll get into that a little bit later because that's its whole other own episode of where I am now. I gave you a little piece of that pie, or a little taste of that at the very beginning when I kind of went through some of the things that I just recently went through here, but you're going to get a bigger piece of that pie at the next episode. But right now we're going to take our third break, and when we come back, I have some really, really great, cool information to share with you. Yeah, so we'll take, like I said, our third break and come back for the last bit of the show, and thank you. And we're back. Hello. So, just like I was saying, there is a certain energy and there's a certain ability when you realize that instead of making everyone else's dreams come true, yes, it's really great to want to help and to be involved and to do that thing where it's great when you see other people that you love succeed and do amazing things, but there's also a balance in that. And I was going too far. I was out of balance when I for the longest time, even sometimes still, I get a little bit out of balance when I'm trying so hard and giving so much of myself towards, other people's dreams and making sure that that their cup's always full. And even if that means that my cup is running super low or maybe even empty. And that whole entire year of the pandemic and leading into even 2 years of the pandemic, because that second year was a little bit of also transitional time. It was a realization that I needed to focus on myself, and I needed to really set in my intentions and give just as much as I would give someone else to help them reach their dreams and their goals. I owed it to myself to do that for me, because if I didn't do it for me, like, I couldn't just depend and expect other people to do it for me just because I was the type of person to do it for other people. And also, it's not fair for other people for you to just try to just insert yourself and make their dreams happen, because maybe they don't want it to happen that way. We're all individuals. We all have our own way of making things happen for ourselves. So yeah, it was a great realization and a great lesson to learn that my dreams are important too. And when I get to focus on my dreams and what I want, it doesn't make me selfish, especially if you do it in the way where you can be selfish when it comes to it, and you can do it in a way where, you're just, if you're stepping on people to just get to the next spot, that's not okay. But I've noticed that the more I focus in on myself, and when I'm really in the most positive mindset and just, setting my boundaries and keeping positive influences in my life, I not only make my dreams come true, but it has a ripple effect in the people around me and in my life. Like, their dreams also start coming true. And it's a very gratifying feeling to see that. With that being said, I want to make a special plug and a special announcement. Basically, what you're going to see me doing is reading directly off my phone, because I would not ever be able to remember any of the things I'm going to be reading just off of the top of my head to just say out to you. So here we go. I wanted to do this special plug. A performer friend of mine reached out. She made a post on the internet, and I commented on it. Things helping promote and uplift other producers and other performers that are doing really great things out in the world. Like I've mentioned before, burlesque not only saved my life, I've been able to witness and see how it saved other people's lives too, and be able to give people a platform to come and show up and be their best selves for themselves. And this is one thing this is a festival that's really great happening right now, and it actually ties in really great with the pandemic and how burlesque transitioned virtually. So what I didn't talk about that I do want to just point out, everything going virtually not only opened the door for people to connect around the world, but it also opened the door for people with disabilities and people that aren't physically able to do certain things or to go out to shows. This actually opened the door to have people that normally can't go to shows because either the venue's not accessible, or they're having a flare, or different things going on that could cause, it may let them have to be like, I give them the ability to experience burlesque still in a different manner and from home and not feel left out. And it's great. So let me just go into this. The disability, sorry. The Disabilities Festival watch party tickets are on sale. Minneapolis, Minnesota. This is an article, or maybe I'm pretty. The Disabilities Festival, DTF, provides a platform for people with disabilities to showcase their talent in the areas of burlesque, circus, cabaret, and drag. This festival works to challenge and overturn the notion that having a disability decreases or interferes with a person's disability, allure, or competence as a performer. Tickets are now on sale for watch parties of the 2020, 2021, and 2022 festivals. And I should mention it's Disabilities, like TEASE, Disabilities Festival. Pretty nice. To prepare for the Hybrid 2024 Festival in Minneapolis, DTF, the Disabilities Festival, will highlight Disability Pride Month while showcasing previous year's shows. Join the watch parties, live chat, cheer, tip the performers, and enjoy the community with other party goers. The festival will stream July 7th through the 23rd, so a really good chunk of next month, pretty much the whole middle part of next month, via Zoom. Each show you're having its own weekend. Friday and Saturday shows will be presented at 7 p.m. Central CDT, so I think that's Central Standard, I don't know, CDT, Central Time, I think, whatever, Minnesota time. Sunday shows will be presented at noon CDT. These watch parties are a great opportunity for audience members to watch shows they missed or couldn't get enough of. It's also a time for performers to receive more love and appreciation for their work, says producer Minda May. Purchase general tickets for $15 or use the pay what you can option to choose any amount. All watch party proceeds will go towards the Hybrid 2024 Festival. For complete cast lists, dates, and times, and more information, visit the event page, which is tinyurl.com/DTF 2023 watch parties. And then some information about the festival is the Disabilities Festival is a multi-day festival that showcases performers with disabilities in the areas of burlesque, circus, drag, and cabaret. The festival strives to create a safe and accommodating space for performers to express themselves and receive the validation and recognition they deserve. You can learn more on their website at www.disabilities, that's DISABILITEASEFESTIVAL.com. The production team consists of Minda May from Minneapolis, Minnesota, and Lakota Shikar from Cleveland, Ohio. Closing message from me. Because I just kind of read into that and I forgot I put my closing message at the end of this. Anyways, my closing message, I took a few steps forward and I'm so excited I stepped forward and here you are. A phoenix will always rise from the ashes. Just be patient. Something I just came up with on the fly this morning. So yeah. But anyways, I wanted to showcase that because it's really important just to know that even if you don't have the physical ability to go and watch burlesque at a local venue, or if the local shows that you have aren't accessible for, your certain level of ability, there are shows out there available for you to still see and watch from the luxuries of your own home. Yeah, and I will definitely be tuning into the Disabilities Festival virtually from the comfort of my own home with some nice snacks and my little dog and my little cat. So I hope to see y'all virtually there sometime next month. And with that being said, I just want to thank everybody. We are currently at the 4th episode of this 6th episode series that I'm doing right now and banking on burlesque. And so the next 2 episodes, we're going to start to talk about what our next steps are going to look like and what that means for me and for you and for this show. And yeah, let's see what kind of magic we can come up with. And until next time, I hope you guys have a wonderful day and the great rest of your June, and July is going to be great. Happy Pride. You have been listening to Banking on Burlesque, the propelling point of change with me, Lana Montreese. Tune in every fourth Wednesday at 4 p.m. Pacific on transformationtalkradio.com. Like I did, you will discover that healing starts within, and I would love to help you navigate into a world of sparkle, wonder, and a lifetime of magical change, and become empowered and heal from trauma through burlesque with me. Visit lanamontreese.com. That's lanamontreese.com.